Think about the ways you use water every day.
Then think about the ways water is in our life in the background, like our beautiful yards and the one and only Everglades.
There are the showers we take,
And the ponds where birds find food.
but we all have to use the same water supply, so we have to protect it while we use it.
Conserving water means we only use what we need now, so we'll have plenty later. We also need to keep water clean. We do this in lots of ways, like using less fertilizer and pesticide,
Picking up trash and debris,
not flushing things that shouldn't be flushed.
How do you protect water resources?
Welcome and thank you for joining our water conservation webinar, brought to you by the City of Fort Lauderdale and the Broward Water Partnership. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted later onto the Conservation Pays YouTube channel. My name is Stephanie, and I'm the Sustainability Specialist for the City of Fort Lauderdale and the liaison for Broward Water Partnership. The Broward Water Partnership consists of local governments, including 18 municipalities and water utilities, who have come together to help save water, save money, and protect the environment. This afternoon, you will hear from Broward Water Partnership's Program Coordinator, Sam Baker with Broward County, and Jared Hollander from DropMyFees. At the end of each presentation, there will be trivia questions for a chance to win some awesome prizes. If you have any questions, there will be a Q&A after the presentation. Lastly, we will have the grand trivia round for a chance to win even more prizes like metal straws, reusable bowls, sustainable living kits, and a beautiful bird bath. So please stay until the end for a chance to win. During the Q&A, feel free to enter any questions into the chat, or if you prefer, you may ask verbally by first raising your hand. You will all be automatically muted, but once you are called on to speak, please remember to unmute yourself first. If you are not familiar with Zoom, all of the functions are at the bottom of your screen. To the left-hand side, you will see the mute. To raise your hand, click on the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen. In addition, the chat box button is also at the bottom center of your screen. Click on the chat icon and the chat box will open to the right-hand side of your screen. When submitting a question, you can choose to send it to everybody or select myself, Stephanie Wilk, by opening the drop-down menu. Before we get started, I want to introduce the partners, beginning with the City of Miramar. Jen,
hi, good afternoon. This is Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
You.
Okay, good. I just don't want to talk to myself. My name is Jin Hao. I'm with the City of Miramar Utility Department. We have been partnered with Broward County on the water conservation program for years. And for City of Miramar, we have been doing a lot of reuse, reclaimed water system. And recently, we just expand our reuse treatment facility from 5 MGD to 7.5 MGD, and which is one of the things our city is really proud of. Now I'm gonna, that's all for me. Thank you.
Great. Next is Carrie Kashar from City of Sunrise.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carrie Kashar. I'm the Sustainability Officer here in the City of Sunrise. I'm excited to represent Sunrise Utilities. You know, environmental stewardship is a pillar of our Sunrise Utilities operations. We serve over 215,000 customers for water and wastewater in Sunrise and in parts of Davie, Southwest Ranches, and Weston. I want to thank the Broward Water Partnership and Conservation Pays for putting on this webinar, but I really want to thank all of you listening today, because I know with all the rain we've had lately, it's hard to think about saving water. So thank you for coming to listen and learn today, and hope to talk to you on the question and answer.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, we have Aaron from City of Margate.
Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron Tauber. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Margate. Basically want to thank everybody for coming out today. Thank you, Fort Lauderdale and Broward Water Partnership for putting this on. For us here in Margate, we are really big on water conservation. For us, the goal is to continue having affordable, high quality water supply for our residents, our businesses, and all users. Now and going forward into the future. So we basically want to keep that going and continue to have that affordable water supply. And to do so, we focus largely on water conservation to allow us to continue doing so.
Sorry if I interrupted you. My screen kind of glitched. I thought you were done. I apologize. Next, we have Alicia from City of Lauderhill.
I do not see her on here. She might not have been able to make it.
Okay, we can move on to Mike Bailey from Cooper City.
Hey there, my name is Mike Bailey. I'm the Utility Director and City Engineer for Cooper City. And we've been proud partners of the Broward Water Partnership for years. And I'm looking forward to participating in this webinar.
Great, thank you. Adrian with Deerfield Beach.
Adrian, you muted yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Mocana. I'm with City of Deerfield Beach. I'm the Environmental Compliance Manager. We are also very proud to be part of the Broward Partnership. We want to have as much water as we can. Like you all said earlier, it's hard to think of conservation when you have all this rainwater in the last week. Our utility is very proud to say that we're kind of getting close to the rebate targets. Our utility also received an award for the year 2020 from American Public Works Association. But that's it for now from me.
Okay, and then Katya from Dania Beach, are you here with us?
We can't hear you, Katya.
Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay, the microphone was off, sorry. Well, it's a real pleasure to join all of you. I've been disconnected a little bit for a while, so it's really a pleasure to be able to get back. It's nice to see you, Samantha. It's been a while. So we have pretty much kept our word. You know, we're trying to advertise all the services you have. I'm getting all the emails, but it's really a pleasure to jump back and to meet all of you and to see what's coming, because I'd like to refresh a little bit the information that we have. But it is really important for us as well to just make sure we're conserving water and helping our residents and visitors know of all the goodies that you're offering and the rebates. And I actually took advantage of it myself, and it's really a pleasure that you're doing all of that. So nice to see you all.
Thank you, Katya. Next, we have Adrian with Deerfield Beach.
He already went.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sandra from Plantation.
I'm by phone. Are you guys able to hear me? I wasn't able to get on the Zoom.
Yes, we can hear
on
you.
the computer. Okay, hi. My name is Sandra Campbell, and I represent the City of Plantation. We have a population of 94,288 very happy and satisfied residents that are really eager to conserve water. And I'm also the water conservation representative for the city, as well as the administrative assistant with the utilities department. So how we engage the residents monthly with our water conservation efforts is one of the ways, rather, is every month I compose a special notes section for the monthly water bill, so they're able to read that section, get some enlightened information on what's going on currently with water conservation efforts and how they can engage in that process. And so that is one of the ways that we keep them engaged and entertained at the same time. And I am very happy and satisfied that you guys were able to coordinate this meeting in light of the COVID. So we appreciate that, because, of course, communicating as a group is really important to our overall goal of getting the communities that we serve to stay involved in the water conservation efforts. So thank you. I appreciate joining the panel, and sure we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Great, thank you, Sandra. So now I can introduce Sam Baker, Program Coordinator for Broward Water Partnership, and she's going to tell you a little bit about the program.
All right. Well, good afternoon. My name is Sam Baker. I am the program manager for the Conservation Pays program. And today we're going to talk about, why water conservation is important and some of the different programs that we have here in Broward County. So we want you as residents to take advantage of these different programs. So we're going to talk about water resources in Broward, the reasons that we need to continue to conserve water as our cheapest source of having water for the future. We'll talk a little bit about irrigation restrictions throughout Broward County, the NatureScape program, our residential irrigation rebate program, and then we're really going to talk about the Broward Water Partnership and the Conservation Pays program. And then finally, we're going to finish off with water conservation tips, because we want you to leave here today ready to go, ready to start saving water. So in Broward County, you might know we call drinking water potable water, and it mostly comes from the Biscayne Aquifer. So what that is a big limestone that sits underneath the ground, and it's a natural filtration system. It holds our fresh water. With the threat of sea level rise and with high tide events, we have our water resources are at risk. So we have this saltwater intrusion that's happening. You can see that little graphic right there, and basically what's happening is saltwater is getting into our waterways and our freshwater sources, and it's causing us to shut down our drinking water well fields. So if we keep that aquifer as full as possible, then we're going to have less salt water in there, and then we're going to have more water for the future. So I mentioned potable water. Yep.
I don't see your screen.
You don't see my screen. Uh-oh. All right, let's try this again. Can you see it now?
PowerPoint, but not
we see
the...
now, yes.
Good?
Yeah,
okay.
good.
All right. Well, this is kind of where we were. We'll go back to this so you can see the saltwater intrusion graphic. So the idea is basically that we have saltwater coming into our freshwater table. Okay, so why is water conservation important? Well, I mentioned potable water is not infinite. We don't have this unlimited source, which is kind of confusing because we live right next to the ocean. So, you're like, well, we're surrounded by water in Broward County, why do we need to conserve? But, fresh water is a limited source. And then what's happening is there are populations growing. So that means increased population growth means increased water demand. I mentioned that saltwater intrusion. That's one of our biggest issues here in Broward. As we have more demands on water, meaning more people using more water, that's going to mean more water treatment facilities. That means higher costs to the taxpayer because we have to, build all of these new facilities. It impacts the Everglades, right? Because that's all connected. I don't know if you know this, but about 2/3 of Broward County is actually conservation land because the Everglades is so important to our ecosystems. And if we're using up all the water, it's going to impact that. And then all of the endangered species that live there, all of those cute, beautiful birds, things like that. And then water managers, they've determined that water conservation is the most cost-effective method of planning for our water future. And then conservation during high tide and flood events actually takes pressure off our utility systems. And I'm just going to show you a picture. This is the road in front of my house. It has never flooded before, and it was about 13 inches deep. And that's how much water we've been having. And it's hard to think about conservation when we're flooding, but it's really important times to do it because it is taking pressure off the utility systems. So I don't know if you've seen notices from your utility or your city saying, please, limit washing your doing your laundry, limit flushing the toilet. All of those things during these high tide events is really helpful, and puts less stress on those utility systems. So what are we doing in Broward County to save water? So first, we have year-round irrigation restrictions. And a lot of people don't know this, but about 50% of our drinking water comes from landscape irrigation. So in order to make sure that we're not tapping too far into that, we do have these restrictions where if your address is even, then you can water your lawn on Sundays and Thursdays. And if your address is odd, then you can water your lawn on, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And, the thing that I always like to remember, because sometimes it does get confusing, is Friday is dry day. So no matter what, nobody should be watering their lawn on Fridays. We have this residential irrigation rebate program, and this is fairly new. Some utilities in Broward County are participating in this. They have 4 different options, and that's for up to $600 back, and that's for upgrading your irrigation system. So it could be, fixing the sprinkler heads themselves, or it could be smart controllers. It could be any one of those 4 things mentioned there. I'm not super familiar with that program. So if you have questions, go to broward.org/irrigation rebate. And that's where you're going to get all of that information about the rebate program. They do have great program managers who can, answer the questions. There's an application system and all of that. We also have a NatureScape program, and this is really about using Florida-friendly landscaping and creating habitat for native and migratory wildlife. So places where animals can raise their young, where they can stop as they're migrating, making sure that they have a food source, things like that. But these native landscapes and plants, they require less watering. They're naturally pest resistant, so you're not going to have to put pesticides and things like that on there. They usually provide food sources for wildlife, like I mentioned, and then you won't need fertilizers. And I can just tell you from personal experience, I started getting into gardening about 3 years ago, and I've planted all natives in my yard, and I kill everything, but the native plants have been thriving. I don't have an irrigation system. I water them when I can, and they're doing really well. So that's NatureScape, and you can go to the website broward.org/NatureScape for information about that and how to create that, Florida-friendly wildlife habitat. So now we're going to talk about conservation pays. So, as Stephanie mentioned before, the Broward Water Partnership is a partnership between Broward County and local municipalities and water utilities. So that's why we have the different panelists here, so that they can represent their city and their utility, and then answer any questions. If you're in the city of Fort Lauderdale and you have a question about water conservation there, then we can have Stephanie answer that question for you. And so what we've done is we've come together to have one water conservation ethic, one message to build this community around water conservation, because water is connected to everything that we do, everything that we use. So this partnership has been really valuable for us to keep that conservation message going. And you know, the goals here are save water first, save money, not just for, you know, the utilities for conserving water, but for the residents. We want residents to see that saving water can translate into utility savings, and then save the environment, of course. So here are the different communities that are participating in our program. The program involves incentives and rebates and water conservation messaging. So all of these partners are here and they're participating, but you'll see that Hollywood and Broward County Water and Wastewater Services do manage a credit on the water bill rather than a rebate for the toilets, which I'll talk about in a minute. So their program's just a little bit separate, but they still do partner with us on the messaging. Okay, so we have this incentive program. So we want people to replace their old toilets. You know, it's funny because you don't think about how much water toilets use, but they actually use the most water inside the home. So what we're doing is we're giving people $100 back for replacing their old inefficient models. So pre-1994 toilets used to use 3.5 gallons per flush. That was the standard. And going back to the 70s, there was only a standard starting in 1975. So pre-1975, any of those old toilets had no standard. Your toilet could use as much as 7 gallons per flush. So we're trying to replace those models. The new ones use 1.28 gallons per flush or less. I've seen them as low as 0.6 gallons per flush, but there are commonly 0.8 gallons per flush toilets, and you know, they're really efficient and work really well. So if you're replacing that 3.5 gallon per flush model with the 1.3, you're going to see over 2 gallons per flush savings. And I'm not sure if you want to know this, but the average person flushes the toilet more than 5 times per day. So that's going to add up. And as we're spending more time at home, you know, some of us are still working from home. You can see we're flushing toilets at home and not in the office or at school or, you know, other places. So that means that those savings are going to be directly from your home and from, you know, your water bill if you pay your own water bill. We also have water conservation incentives. So the different communities throughout Broward County are offering free devices. So we have shower heads. The ones that we give out use 2 gallons per minute. This standard is 2.5 gallons per minute, but many of the older ones will actually use 3.5 gallons per minute. So you're going to save a significant amount of water just by replacing that shower head. And usually they're fairly easy to replace by yourself. You don't have to hire anybody. If you've had a shower head on for a very long time, you might need to hire somebody just depending on the corrosion. We have bathroom aerators. So you can see that little guy. These use 1 gallon per minute. The standard is 2.2 gallons per minute. So if you replace that, you're going to save 1.2 gallons per minute. And the bathroom aerators are my favorite out of all of the free giveaways that we have, because you can replace it yourself, but also because you don't need a certain amount of water pressure. When you're in the bathroom, you wash your hands and brush your teeth and sometimes shave your face or wash your face. So you don't need to have that sink fill up right away. You know, you use it for a couple minutes and it's going to save a significant amount of water. And then we do offer kitchen aerators, and those are awesome because they have this switch on them. So if you're hand washing dishes and you want to keep the hot water going, you flip that switch, it stops temporarily, but you're still going to have hot water when you turn it back on. So you don't have to wait for that. We also have leak detection tablets for your toilet. So say you already have a modern toilet, but you feel like your water bill's really high. Well, you can take these leak detection tablets, you can throw them in your toilet tank, let it sit there for 10 to 20 minutes. And then if you see the color in the bowl, usually it's blue. So if you see a blue dye in the bowl, then you know that you need to replace your flapper in your toilet and that you could save water that way. And replacing the flapper is really cheap, $5 to $10. And most people can do that themselves. So if you're interested in these free devices, you can go to conservationpays.com/partners, and it has all the partners and what they're offering. But you can also contact your water provider directly and see if they're offering those, because the way it works is we get a big stock in and then we give them to the partners, and the partners distribute them, so that, you know, if you live in Deerfield Beach, you don't have to drive all the way down to downtown Fort Lauderdale, or, you know, if you live in Hallandale, you don't have to drive up somewhere. So it's just to make sure that you have a place close by that you can pick up these devices. So now probably what you all really want to know about is the $100 rebate program. You know, that's kind of the staple of our program, which keeps water conservation going year round. So the way the program works is that we do require pre-approval. And the reason we require pre-approval is, number one, we want to make sure that you live within the program area. Number two, we want to make sure that you have all the information about your old toilet, because we can only replace old inefficient models. Number three, it's to protect you, so that you know that you are 100% eligible before you go and make that investment, and you know what type of toilet to purchase, what documents we need. So that's why the pre-approval is there. We do sometimes retroactively provide rebates, but that's on a case-by-case basis. So, you know, I mentioned you have to be within the program partner service area. So some areas in Broward County are not participating in the program. So we want to make sure that you're there. Your building must be pre-1994. And the reason for that is in 1994, a federal law was passed that required all new construction install toilets with 1.6 gallon per flush models. So those are considered modern and efficient. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the next bullet point here, is that your old toilet has to be inefficient. We can't go from a 1.6 to a 1.28. We're not going to see that much water savings. We're not going to reach our program goals. So we need to replace those really old models, those 3.5 models that I mentioned. The new toilets have to use 1.28 gallons per flush or less. And then this next bullet point is important, because people see these new dual flush toilets that are really attractive, and, you know, some of the stores like to push those. But those toilets, both flush options have to be 1.28 or less. So some of them use as much as 1.6 gallons per flush, and that's the higher flush option. Those do not qualify for a rebate program. And the reason for that is because studies have shown that people actually hit the higher flush option more often, because they're not sure how they work, because it's kind of new technology. And then finally, you have to be the owner of the home, or you have to have permission from the owner of the home. Okay, so steps to receiving the rebate. It's really just 5 easy steps. Number one, complete the application. Number two, if you're eligible, you're going to receive an email that says, congratulations, you're approved, and it's going to have all of the instructions on how to receive your rebate, including what type of toilet to purchase, what documents you may need, and then how to submit those documents. Number three, you purchase and install your toilet. Then you send us your documents, which is going to include a receipt with your name on it, proof that the new toilet meets our requirements, and then also a photo of your toilet installed in your home. And we want to see that photo so we know that it's the same toilet that you purchased, and that you didn't go to the store, buy a toilet, and then return it. And then you get a check. And so it's pretty easy. The check comes within 2 to 3 weeks of submitting your documents. Sometimes it's a little longer, just depending on how busy the accounting department is. And this is for up to 2 rebates per household, but commercial properties and businesses can do more. And that's on a case-by-case basis. It depends on how much funding the city has for the year and how much they've used. So, you know, if you're interested in a large multifamily property, then you would contact us and say, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z. And we'll get back to you, and we'll let you know how many rebates you can get. Other perks of the program. So once you install your toilet, once you install your shower heads, you're going to see continued water savings, right? So every month your water bill is going to be a little bit lower than it was before. People report saving up to $10 per month per toilet. Now that's not every single time. It depends on, you know, how much water you're using, how much water your old toilet was using, if there were leaks, things like that. you're going to create less wastewater. So that's going to mean less of a demand on the utilities who are processing that wastewater. And usually, depending on how your bill is, if you're using less water, that means your wastewater part of the bill is going to be a little bit lower too. You're going to see energy savings. So, you know, if you're taking a shower and you're using 2 gallons per minute, that's 2 gallons of hot water per minute versus 3.5 gallons of hot water per minute. So, you know, your hot water heater is going to have to work a little bit less. And that goes the same as the bathroom aerators and the kitchen aerators. So you're going to see a little bit of energy savings there. Plus, energy and water go together. So in order to create energy, we need water. And in order to create water, we need energy. And that means processing the water, all of those things take energy. So if you're using less, it's just going to be less energy overall. Our program also has contests. We've had contests where people win up to $5,000 and a complete home retrofit with energy and water saving appliances. So we usually do some sort of contest once a year. It varies, but you know, we do offer that. We like to engage people and show the residents of Broward County that we appreciate your water conservation efforts. So that's why we include those contests. And then we do have an e-newsletter that you can learn about environmental events and news and then other promotions. And we try to limit how often we send things to you because we all get hundreds of emails a day, you know, so we probably send out 4 to 5 new newsletters a year, but we make sure that it's got some important information in there. So now I just want to leave you with some water conservation tips. Check for leaks. So you can monitor for leaks by checking your water bill every month. But you can also, like I mentioned, check leaks in your toilet using those leak detection tablets. But if you don't have access to that or you don't feel like going and picking them up from your city, if you have food coloring, you can check for leaks in your toilet just by dropping a couple drops of food coloring in the tank. Let it sit for 10 to 20 minutes. If you see that color in the toilet bowl, then you know that you need to replace your flapper or you need to get a plumber out to, you know, get that fixed. And just, you know, in case you're worried, the dye does not stain the bowl because it's, you know, it's food safe. So also, you know, we recommend that you sweep or scrub your driveway instead of pressure washing it or hosing it down. You know, that's going to save you some water. When you're washing your dishes, you know, plug the sink, don't let it run all the way down. You know, that's going to save a decent amount there. And it's also going to save energy. If your community allows it, install a rain barrel. There are some city codes that don't allow you to install them in the front. Some places will let you install them in the back. Check with your HOA if you have an HOA. But installing a rain barrel is one way that you can catch that water and then use it for, you know, to water your outside plants and save you a lot on your irrigation. When you're running the dishwasher, it's better to run it full than to hand wash. There's kind of this myth that people think hand washing is going to save water. For the average person, if you fill your dishwasher full, then that's going to save more water than if you hand wash all of your dishes. Run only full loads of laundry. Pretty standard. I'm sure you've heard that one. And then the last one I'm going to mention is buckets. So I shower with a bucket every day, and then I use that water to either rinse my dishes that are in the sink or to go outside and water a plant. I don't have a rain barrel because I don't have gutters and it's a long thing, but I put a bucket outside, and where a lot of the water runs off my roof, it catches the water, and then every day after it rains, I use it to water one of my plants. So I just love having those there because I know I'm saving about 5 gallons a day by using those two. You know, it's not going to see a lot of savings on my water bill, but I know that I'm, you know, saving every little last drop that I can. So finally, if you're interested in the Conservation Pays program, you can go to conservationpays.com. We have our phone number there and email, and I'm going to put that in the chat as well. And if you're interested in some of those other programs that I mentioned, you know, learning about your irrigation, or the irrigation rebate program or NatureScape or the irrigation restrictions, you can go to broward.org/water resources, and that's going to have all of that information in there. And that is it for me.
Great. We do have one quick question. Is LBTS, I think that's Lauderdale by the Sea, in this program? You didn't see it on the Broward County's partner.
So Lauderdale by the Sea is not a utility, but they are serviced by the city of Fort Lauderdale and by Pompano Beach. So if you're in the portion of Lauderdale by the Sea that's serviced by Fort Lauderdale, then yes, they are part of the program. If you're in like the more northern part and you're serviced by Pompano, then you would not be participating in the program. But our website does have an eligibility tool. So if you're not sure who your water provider is, you just go and you type in your address, and it'll drop a pin and it'll tell you who the water provider is and if they're participating in the program.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you, Sam. We are going to play some trivia now. And before we get started, I just want to lay out some ground rules. So please note that all the answers must be submitted into the chat box. You can type the letter or the full answer. The fastest individual who answers accurately wins. Every question comes with a prize. Participants can only win once. However, I encourage you to keep playing. If you are lucky enough to win more than once, you'll be awarded the bigger prize. Whichever prize is not the biggest will be given to the second place winner. Winners will be contacted through the email that was provided when you registered for this webinar. Expect an email by Friday, November 20th if you are a winner. Prizes will be mailed via USPS, so I want to emphasize how important it is for you to check your inbox. If you prefer to be contacted through a different email, feel free to send me a private message through the chat box here on Zoom. Okay, so round one. Is everybody ready? So don't worry, these are multiple choice questions. Please wait for the timer to start before you submit your answer. You will have 10 seconds to submit your answer into the chat box, and I'll read the question out loud, and then the timer will begin. So the first question, where does potable, also known as drinking water, mostly come from in Broward County? Five, four, three, two, one. The answer is the Biscayne Aquifer. And the second question, what type of certification must your new toilet have in order to qualify for a rebate? The answer is WaterSense. And that's the end of round one of trivia. So I will now hand it over to Jared Hollander from DropMyFees. If you want to start sharing your screen and take it away.
Will do. Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Good.
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
I'm going to take a minute and thank everybody. Introduce myself. Before I do, we're going to have a few trivia questions. I don't want anybody to miss anything. Our rules are pretty much the same as what was just announced. So we're going to list a question and then just post the answer. And at the end of this, we'll announce the winners. The first one is going to be this prize you're looking at here. This is a digital meter reader that links to a cell phone and a computer, or however you want to get the signal to monitor your usage and detect leaks. So we're going to post the question, and it's important that the first one I answered wins. So as soon as we post it, get ready to answer. Here's the question.
Okay.
Worldwide.
You have to share your screen. Sorry, we don't.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, here's the question. Worldwide, 1 in blank people lack access to safe water. One out of how many? One of every how many people? 1 out of X. All right, just enter that in the chat box. Okay. All right, we're DropMyFees, and we specialize in utility management for condominiums. We invest 100% of the cost of property improvements, capital improvements to conserve water on the properties we work on. A lot of the things I've been hearing today, I couldn't agree more with as far as the things that are important and the effects that they have. And I think we really could be in a better place to have experienced that from every angle in multiple municipalities and from the user side and from the municipality side. The way we do it is very in-depth, and we do it on large scale. So the first thing we do is we audit historical billing data for many reasons. First, we're ensuring accuracy. Second, we want to know where the water's going and what the patterns are on the property. So the more data that we can get to use to do that, the better. We're analytics based here. We're not just basically plumbers. We're running high analysis to forecast future savings and determine the benefit, if there is one, of doing a large project. Once we complete that phase, we inspect the property. We measure flow rates of all the fixtures. We count all the different flow rates of each different type of fixture and map all the leaks we could find on the property. And then we couple that with the historical billing patterns that we determined, and then we could figure out exactly where the water's going and what the effect of any kind of capital improvement would make. We all want to save water. Unfortunately, you know, when we deal specifically with, generally with condos that want to save money on water, and they just have to. So the project has to work. It has to save money on water. And we need to figure out if it's going to do that, and we need to be sure about it. So once we get past that point, we will report and recommend what we find. And assuming that that gets approved by the partner property that we're working with, then we'll go ahead and implement the capital improvements like replacing the toilets, shower heads, aerators, fixing leaks, things like that. Again, we're doing this on a large scale, and there may be just 1 meter. So without the research, without the analysis, it's just a guess that it's going to work. It'll help. The question is how much. So we need to know exactly, and you know, we're pretty effective at that. We'll go back here. So yeah, and then after the improvements are made, we'll monitor and manage the effect and the results over the long term. We'll reassess each bill as it comes in, make sure it's accurate, and if we determine or notice that any spikes or anything like that, there may be a leak, we need to address it. We work with the property to get that resolved as quickly as possible. That's a little bit about us. I was very pleased to see this the other day. I know Fort Lauderdale put this together, and I like it a lot, so thank you. And Sam, thank you for sending this over to me. This is a project we did in Fort Lauderdale that's saving over 10 million gallons a year on water. On this property, there was around 300 units, about 450 bathrooms total, and there's also sinks in the kitchen. So we changed 650 aerators, sinks, 380 shower heads. We replaced 299 3.5 gallon toilets, and we rebuilt 127 toilets that were already replaced at some point, but just were not running efficiently. And to Sam's point about replacing those flappers, and finding those and dropping the, dye in the toilet to find the leak. If your toilet's not leaking, it's going to. And if you replace the flapper today, it's going to go bad. Again, it's an ongoing need. It has to be managed, and that's what we're here to do. Now, this property is saving $160,000 a year, and what helped facilitate this project was the rebate that Broward was able to offer for the 299 toilets we changed. And I have to say, dealing with a lot of different municipalities and different parts of the country, I haven't seen anything better than what Broward's doing as far as the process. This event we're on right now, and actually getting the rebates processed and paid as quickly as possible. I have hundreds, maybe 1,000 rebates that I'm waiting for in other municipalities outside of here that are taking forever, and the process is just completely different. And like we're in Broward County, there's all these different municipalities in the county, and they're not all the same. Everybody's got has different ways of rate structures and dealing with things. So from the rebate side and analysis side, we have that perspective. We've seen a lot of different things, and we're very happy to be working with Broward. So thanks again for that. On this same property, we were able to take that historical data to figure out what the future consumption would be if nothing was done. And that's what the green line is here. And then the blue line is what the water bill actually was after we finished our project. And this line has a little bit of movement in it, but that's basically because of the size of the billing cycle is not always the same amount of days, and that's one of the factors here. And that, coupled with what was more than likely a leak, made it so that the consumption wasn't even. However, it averages to be about a 50% reduction from for the year, and that's going to continue because when we're replacing toilets that were built in the 80s today, those are 30-year-old toilets, 40-year-old toilets. People don't replace toilets that often. So if you do a project like this, there's going to be a long-term benefit. It's not just the savings that we have this month or next month or this year or next year. It's a long-term benefit. This is the same property, the same project, and this is the cumulative savings month after month after month. You can see that it generally is going in the same direction, and it's even enough. Nobody's upset with the results here. I mean, this was a spectacular project, and we're happy we did it. And what we're most proud about is that the results were exactly what we forecasted that they would be. So that's important to us because we have the data going in, we know what we're putting in, and then we have the data afterward, and we're able to compare it and analyze and even learn even more, and to improve moving forward. So with that said, a couple of the things I want to cover today is really the perspective that we can add, where we want to try to bridge the gap between the end user and the service provider, understanding readiness, both sides of the meter, accurate billing, dealing with issues, conservation, volumetric versus behavioral, how we determine what should be done and what the effects of each thing would be through the inspection and the analysis. Planning is critical. It's one thing to just replace your toilet, but what if they're not all the same. They have a lot of different toilets on the toilet aisle. And I know Sam was touching on the difference between the 2 flush versus the 1 flush. I'm with you. It requires some analysis and planning. And the problem is if you put the wrong toilet in and then you realize it after the fact and you're doing it to save money, you're going to be reluctant to rip it out and replace it because you put the wrong one in the first time. So it really needs to be done the right way the first time. And that's how we execute our plans and control costs. And then we're going to get into a contest that we're having and explain why we're doing it and how it's going to work, which is in line with the post-install monitoring and managing of the property. Okay. This is basically a little graphic of, you know, what we do. We gather and understand, we commit and plan, we implement, we evaluate, we communicate and disclose, and then we just keep doing it over and over and over to continuously improve, even on the same property. We just want to know, how can we continuously make it better? How can we keep the savings sustainable over time, over the long term? Okay, so a meter. Which side are you on? I suppose there's people here that are on both sides. I don't know, there's probably not a lot of people that never get a water bill, or at least indirectly. Most of the people that I deal with that only see the water bill would prefer that it was lower. And a lot of times their instinct is to just blame the bill or the municipality as if it's an error, when the truth is it's not always, it's usually not. There's a lot of things that can be done other than complaining about the bill to the municipality, like we've been hearing all day. You know, there's a lot of things that the unit owner, the resident, can do to make a big difference. And you could also check to see if the bill's accurate. Fortunately, you know, for us, when we do historical audits, the biggest thing we're looking for is to determine, is there a systematic issue that's being, a billing issue that the municipality is having, or not. And if not, then it's just maybe every now and then we'll see some sort of error. An error is an error. People make mistakes. That's okay. It happens. When we see them, typically the municipality corrects it. What I can tell you is we have found municipalities that have systemic problems where they're systemically overcharging everyone. None of them are on this call, and none of them are in Broward County so far that I've found. So we've seen most of them, and from what we've seen, I have never ever seen anything like that in Broward County. Okay, here's another question. Get ready to answer it, okay? And it's about what we take for granted. You know, in America, I know most people that I know turn on a faucet, they expect water to come out. They don't even comprehend that why wouldn't it, right? We kind of take it for granted because there's a reason that it does. It doesn't happen everywhere. There's a lot of places that it doesn't. And the reason that we have water is because we have the infrastructure. So here's the next question. And before the prize for this question is going to be a donation to water.org on your behalf. Water.org, I don't know if anybody knows about them. Pretty interesting. It's a nonprofit that is creating ways for people that have no water infrastructure to create their own safe water and sewage internationally. And they have a very large, they're at a large scale, and they're doing some really good work. So that's what this is going to be. So here's the next question. How many people in the world lack access to a toilet? Go ahead and submit your answer. The first one with the right answer will win a prize. Somebody's Googling this. Resourceful. Okay, here is a plant. You know, this is what it takes to get water to your faucet. It's expensive. People work there. A sewage plant, you know, if you just use your imagination for a second, I don't know that's the most desirable place to work. You know, people do work there. It has to run so that your toilet flushes, you know, you have water coming out of your faucet. If nobody in your community used water for 2 weeks and you were responsible for the water that came out first, that first drop of water would be like $4 million. You know, so billing structures have to take that into consideration. That's why you see a base charge in some places. And they have to manage that so that there's readiness, that the water's always ready to come out and it be processed. So there's people that work here all day, they do a good job, and you know, they have to get paid. So they need to be able to prepare for this stuff. And that's really why rate structures are what they are. So I think it's important for the end user to understand that too.
Sorry, Gary, I just wanted to let you know you have 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect. That's getting there. Thank you. So then we'll go to volumetric versus base. Behavioral conservation. Volumetric is what you could change a fixture to reduce the flow, and behavioral is when you could actually choose to do something different with your behavior, like shut the sink off while you're brushing your teeth. There's a lot of ways to do that. Here's a few tips. Some of them are similar to what Sam was saying, so I'll just give you the cliff notes. Check for leaks. Number 3, I think, might be the most important, which is shut off the tap while you're brushing your teeth. And 6, invest in toilet bowls and make sure it's the right one, and that's what we do. Part of our inspections, we find a lot of things. In one unit, we found a giant piece of furniture blocking a bathroom door. When we asked if we could move it, and we did, we found that the sink was running and we couldn't shut it off. It was broken on. We asked the resident how long it was running for. He told us 2 years, and asked if he had reported to anybody, and he said no. So here's the next trivia question. The final question we asked this gentleman was, why did he have the furniture in front of the door? The prize for this is an automatic faucet, the one you see in the picture, a hands-free touchless faucet. Whoever gets this answer right. Why did he have the furniture in front of the bathroom door? Volumetric, and while you're answering that, volumetric and behavioral. Volumetric is all we really focus on. We know if we replace something, we're going to save. Behavioral is a little difficult because nobody really listens to what we tell them when it comes to changing their behavior. However, if they did, it would be even better. And because we can't get anybody to do this unless we incentivize them, we're going to be announcing a $10,000 prize that goes to residents of a meter that saves the largest percentage over a certain period of time in our program. So if anybody would like to register their property for that, I'll be dropping the link to that registration into this chat box in a minute. So with that said, thank you everyone for your time. And if anybody has any questions for DropMyFees, feel free to email us here, go to our website, or call us. This is all our information. Thank you.
Jared, I'm going to say real quick. You didn't answer any of the trivia questions. I think people are probably curious. You're muted. Jared, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Question number 1. Let me see. I can't even see the chat, so I'm going to close this for a second. Here we go. Adrian, congratulations.